The Revolutionary Communists of America are hosting Marxist schools in Los Angeles on October 11th and 12th, Chicago on October 25th and 26th, and New York City on November 8th and 9th. These schools of communism will be weekend-long educational deep dives to discuss the fundamentals of Marxist philosophy, revolutionary history, and strategy. Buy your tickets now at the link in the description to secure your spot.
The Wall Street Journal and a local Dallas paper just wrote articles about the revolutionary communists of America. They see the rising popularity of socialism and communism and are struggling to understand why 1 out of every 3 people that are under 30 have a favorable view of communism in the United States. To us, it's no wonder that people are sick of capitalism and want a revolution. Our generation has never known peace. We saw the 2008 crisis shatter the stability of the working class, and we've been living in the broken pieces ever since. We now pay more for housing and insurance than millennials, just 1 generation older than us, and we make less than them. College graduates are now more unemployed than the national average. Even when we're putting our heads down and grinding it out, we're still only just getting by. To top it all off, we have grown up watching the imperialist massacres carried out by our ruling class. From Iraq and Afghanistan to the genocide in Gaza, all funded by our tax dollars. And it's not just the youth that are disillusioned with this system. Only 54% of Americans have a positive view of capitalism. 70% said that the American dream no longer holds true or never did. Only 25% think that they have a good chance of improving their standard of living. And that's the lowest figure that's been recorded. The life promised to the working class of this country does not exist. And there is a growing layer in the US that can no longer just sit by and be passive observers of capitalist decline. But the 2 political parties in America have discredited themselves. They are correctly seen as corrupt, cynical tools of the billionaires. Trump, who rode the vote of disillusioned workers and youth, has suffered a 54-point negative swing with Gen Z voters between February and July of 2025, with his youth disapproval peaking at 72%. And despite what the even more discredited Democratic Party says, we are not in a period of fascist takeover. With his reactionary theatrics, Donald Trump is trying to distract the working class from economic pain that will only get worse. In reality, we're entering a period of class struggle. The revolutionary movements in Indonesia and Nepal, the Block Everything protests in France and Italy will be coming to the United States sooner or later, and we are preparing for that. The youth are looking past the Democrats and Republicans and now see class struggle as the only way out. We want a revolution, and we're building the party that will ensure that that happens. Today, you're going to hear from comrades that are building at college campuses all over the country, not only training themselves, but going out and recruiting people that feel the same way that they do about the state of the world. In the last few weeks, in more than 50 campuses across the country, we have had over 2,500 people sign up to potentially join the Revolutionary Communists of America. But this is just the beginning. Now comes the real task, to recruit these comrades into the ranks of the party and begin their consolidation in the ideas of Marxism and the methods of Bolshevism. These young people had never been given the opportunity to change the world until now. By building a disciplined network of revolutionaries steeled in Marxist theory, capable of communicating those ideas to the broader working class, we can prepare for revolution. Now let's hear from our comrades in Dallas, Fort Worth, Chicago, Minneapolis, Philadelphia, Seattle, and New York City.
Around this area that I'm standing in, we had 18 comrades intervene at a university fair that they were doing in UNT called Mean Green Fling. We were able to make 90 contacts and sell 27 papers while being out here. We've also been tabling every Monday through Wednesday right over here. Pretty much at every tabling, comrades have gotten around like 10 or so contacts.
The people that are joining us are incredibly energized to go and build, to study theory. One comrade in particular, they're jumping out in front of the table, calling out to people, "Are you sick of capitalism?" It was really incredibly inspiring. Basically, 1 in every 2 people you ask, they hate capitalism and they're very sympathetic to communism. and love to hear what you're saying about fighting the system. Comrades have been putting forward our program, connecting with people on the streets and showing an option that can actually overthrow the capitalist system in their lifetime. In the past, when we had a good conversation, explained the role of the party, oftentimes we'd ask people, okay, do you want to sign up and write their name on the sheet? We changed this approach, and matching up with the seriousness of our content, we also matched up with the seriousness of our ask, asking them if they can join right on the spot, if they can join the party, and if not, set up a meeting with them right away. And with that, you can send them an article, or if they buy the paper, you have a concrete plan to actually discuss with them. That gives them a lot of energy to actually build the party, to learn more about our ideas.
We've also just had a very successful public event here in this building. I know it's a church, but that's where we had a pretty successful public event. We had about 10 people that weren't members of the organization show up to the event, recruited one person on the spot, and sold over $154 of press materials here. We've actually recruited 8 people at UNT so far of the fall offensive, and I would say with these 8 people, they're very serious, they're dedicated, and yes, they're paying a day's wage and dues.
That thirst for Marxist literature and a further examination of these ideas was felt this year. One important thing to note is the lack of identity politics in the conversations we were having at the tables. In previous fall offensives, there were these inundations with identity and who you represent, and in this year, those ideas were completely scattered by a more tangible economic concern. People wanted to know if they were going to be fed, housed, if they were going to have careers after college, and we were here to meet them and to let them know that under a socialist, centrally planned economy, those concerns can be met by the working class's efforts. We were able to convince 200 people to have a further discussion on these ideas. Those contacts have been reached out throughout the following weeks, and as of today, we've got 6 new members to the RCA here in Chicago.
We had many students walk up to the table and excitedly ask us, are you guys communists? They saw the hammer and sickle. They saw us tabling out here, and they saw a politically organized and serious professional party organizing along class lines. And so many students saw that and immediately were writing their name on our sign-up sheet and asking us questions about how they can get involved. One student came up to our table and they bought not just the latest issue of the newspaper, they bought the prior 4 issues as well. They walked away with 5 copies of our paper and were telling us how excited they were to read it. And right then and there, we set up a meeting so that we could discuss them getting involved with the party as a full-fledged member. And even students who came up to our table with a general sense of skepticism or confusion or reluctance around the ideas of communism or Marxism, even they were asking questions with a genuine curiosity. Many of these students are incurring tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt and questioning how valuable is this college education going to be in their economic future. They see the mounting unemployment rate. They see the increasing disparity between the rich and the poor, and were asking us what our proposed solutions are for dealing with these very real problems.
I'm actually honored to be one of the new recruits for the RCA, and I met them just a couple weeks ago, and I spoke to Comrade Christian here. I had never really considered myself a very political person until about the past year. What really pleased me when I saw the group out here standing and talking to people and tabling was about a year and a half ago. We had the encampment in the DePaul Quad, which was busted up, and a lot of students who were in solidarity of Gaza and the genocide against Palestine. They busted it up and they just tore everybody up and sent them all home in the middle of the night. And it was a little horrific. And I think attention needs to be brought and a platform needs to be made here on the campuses and in the schools, in the cities. And there's an untapped group of students who are willing to have their voices be heard and join the RCA, and I think be part of the future.
Here in Minneapolis on the University of Minnesota campus, we had tabling sessions 3 times a week at least. I'm here in front of Kauffman Memorial Union. This is the hub of where the students congregate, and we would often set up tabling sessions in front of the lawn here. I'm kind of over here in the main walkways. Wherever there was foot traffic, that's where the communists were. We also made an effort to poster all over campus and in the surrounding residential area leading up to the public event, which helped us to build ourselves up as the communists on campus. Some students would recognize us from the posters and were enthusiastic to finally connect with us. About halfway through the fall offensive campaign, Maine, the university Teamsters went on strike, and I'm standing right in the middle of where there was a ginormous rally for these Teamsters. The strike piqued the interest of many students, and even though the strike didn't last long itself, we were able to fold these events into one another, asking students about the strike and asking the workers about support from the students. This was an opportunity to start political conversations left and right. We did get quite a few contacts over the course of the few weeks. We got at least over 100, and at the present moment, we were able to turn 5 of them into recruits and 1 sustainer. We've also made over $460 in sales, and this was kind of capstoned by our public event, Why You Should Be a Communist. There were at least 10 contacts in total at the event. They all stuck around. We were singing songs afterward, revolutionary songs. We asked 2 to join on the spot, and they did. We asked comrades who came up to the table, why did you walk over? And many of them pointed to our banner that a comrade made. Abolish the billionaires, abolish wage slavery, free tuition, free healthcare, free Palestine. One of the new recruits we made here on campus is a comrade who moved from Louisiana. They've been following along with the Against the Stream podcast for a while, and they knew that we had a significant presence in Minneapolis. And when they saw us at a table, they walked up and they said, finally, I found you, when they saw us, and proceeded to join on the spot. They brought in another friend of theirs as well.
I had picked up the State and Revolution and the Spectre of Communism podcast at around the same time. Having those 2 perspectives to kind of build off of and compare to, I think very much helped. And by the time I had finished the book, I was pretty confident that I wanted to join the party and that they had the right ideas.
What was it like listening to it in a world of, confusion, and what kind of drew you to its ideas and its message?
It felt very much like having somebody who knew what they were saying, knew what they were talking about, and was imparting this knowledge that they had collected. And they really gave some analysis of things that I had not previously known about. They talked about things like the Russian Revolution. One that really stuck with me was like the art and culture and the Russian Revolution, something I had not previously considered. And then this very educated, knowledgeable person tell me, this is what happened, this is where things were going, this is why we care, and this is our perspective. It had very cohesive ideas.
What was it like meeting our comrades at the tabling session? What did you feel the first time you saw that hammer and sickle on our paper?
I was working to try to actively find the party because I wanted to join. And so whenever I first saw one of our tabling sessions, I was riding my bike and I rode past them, turned around, parked it, and was like, I need to get y'all's contact information. And everyone was very welcoming. I got the number of one of the members and I talked to them about when the meetings were. I came in, there was a very approachable atmosphere. There was space to talk. Overall, I found it very easy to kind of like voice ideas and try to hammer out my perspective and how that kind of, what the party's perspective was on these things.
I think this shows us the desire for Marxist ideas and for people to change their conditions by joining a revolutionary party.
My name's Ethan. I'm a member of the Revolutionary Communists of America here in Philadelphia, and right now I'm out here on Temple University's campus, where for the past 3 weeks we've been talking to students about the need for revolutionary communism. And really the response that we've gotten has been ecstatic so far. Students are completely fed up, completely angry with climate change, with war and genocide and imperialism, with austerity cuts, the cuts to our public transportation system all around us. I could keep going on, but it's been to the point where at our very first tabling, before we were even set up, someone, a student on campus, leapt up to us and was like, are you guys the Temple Communists? I've been looking for you guys. And this is the kind of mood we've been met with to try and connect with this radical mood, especially amongst the youth. And for the first 2 weeks, we tabled very intensely on campus, 2 or 3 times every single day. We have talked with an untold hundreds, maybe even thousands of students here on campus. We've made over 180 signups, sold over 160 papers, and already recruited 5 new communists here at Temple into our ranks, with many more on the way. We had multiple discussions on the most recent issue of The Communist, issue number 16. It has the questions students are having, like on reformism and Zoran Mamdani, or what would a communist America look like? What kind of party are we recruiting students to? Are we recruiting them to, a book club, a reading group, or maybe just, some kind of student organization like all the others? Or are we recruiting them to a serious professional revolutionary party that treats them like adults? Our first public meeting that we had just this past week, which was called Why You Should Be a Revolutionary Communist. And I think this was a big success. 15 really high-quality contacts came out to it, all of which were enthralled in the political discussion, and 2 of which joined right on the spot after the meeting. And I think the morale was very high in the room. And this is only the beginning. You know, we have a second public meeting planned in a couple weeks from now on reform versus revolution. We have the New York Marxist School. We're trying to bring as many students here on campus out to as possible in November. You know, how do we need to advertise this? We need to take these posters and we need to go out to our periphery. All these signups and contacts that we've made, all the new comrades that we've recruited, put these posters in their hands and say, hey, do you have any friends that are going to be interested in this meeting? Can you go into your classroom and ask your teacher if you can shout out this meeting that you're really excited for? You know, really, one, gets the students to spread the word amongst the rest of the student body themselves. And then two, this also serves another purpose of immediately wrapping up all of our new contacts and recruits into the practical activity of building the party. We've established a super definite presence here on campus. Whether they agree with us yet or not, every single student out here knows that the communists are here boldly. They know that if they want to go to any kind of radical leftist communist organization, it's going to be us.
Comrades, I want to take a quick moment out of the episode to remind you to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please send them down in the comment section. We're not content creators. We're not doing this to make ad money on YouTube. We're on this platform so that we can give Marxist ideas to the communist layer in society and recruit them to the revolutionary communists of America. So again, like, subscribe, and comment on the videos, and share this video with who you think might be interested in joining the revolutionary communists of America. If you haven't joined the party, go down into the description of this video and click the link communistusa.org/join.
Hey, the Seattle Communists are out here on a cold Sunday morning talking to students and workers as they commute about their day and explain to them what capitalism is and how it's not going to be able to solve their problems, why we need a genuine communist party in order to fight against the Republicans, against the Democrats, and actually represent the workers. And a lot of people are open to those ideas. We've gotten 4 sales, we've gotten a contact, and we've had some really good conversations with people. So we're really excited to continue our fall offensive and head back onto campus once the students get back.
Here in New York, the fall offensive has been great. We've been targeting campuses in 4 out of the 5 boroughs, and from what I can tell, seems like everywhere we've targeted, there's been a general enthusiasm for communism, but more so, people have been very curious about communism and asking very fundamental questions that we are excited to answer. And this, of course, makes all the sense in the world. You know, in a world dominated by capitalism, only our enemies get to define these things. Most people don't learn about communism from Vladimir Lenin or Karl Marx or your friendly neighborhood communist. They learn about these ideas from Tucker Carlson or Jesse Waters or what have you, Fox News. So a lot of people have been coming up to us and asking us for, you know, the perspective on these issues from a communist. We've recruited over 20 new dues payers at an average of over $50 dues. I know that in Brooklyn, we recruited 5 new members, one of whom is a college student, which is very, very good. In Queens, we recruited 3 new students and more members on top of that. In the Bronx, we now have a series of active contacts, and we have a series of active contacts, people who are likely to join soon in a high school, which is quite exciting. And then the big news from New York is that we now have our first actual foothold at NYU. We have a branch there, and we had a public meeting in which 16 contacts attended. It went very, very well. We had a lead off on why you should be a communist, and a lively discussion that followed on all types of questions, like what happened in the Soviet Union, what about China, all of these kinds of things. It was very, very good and engaging.
We're doing the fall offensive at a high school for the first time in New York City this year. And a couple of weeks ago, we set up our table with the RCA banner on the corner of the high school. And as the students passed by when they were let out of school, a lot of them stopped by our table to ask questions. There's a lot of curiosity around these ideas. What is communism? How is it different from socialism? What is capitalism? And at one point, there was a group of freshmen and sophomores who started to chant communism, and eventually there was a mosh pit formed around our table. But outside of all of that enthusiasm, there are people who are looking to get involved. We've had serious conversations. One of the people followed us and asked us questions for a full hour, and even joined us at the social afterwards to ask us about imperialism and the role that US imperialism has played. We have a high school comrade who's working really hard to build in his high school. He's been talking about these ideas with his friends, and one of his friends has actually already come to one of our branch meetings, and we recruited him as well. So this goes to show you that the youth is hungry for these ideas. They're looking to get involved, and as long as we're going out there and connecting with them, we have the potential to grow into a sizable force, hopefully relatively quickly.
Why am I a communist? A lot of different reasons. Like, the main reason would be related to like my experience and my family's experience with healthcare in the United States. I mean, healthcare for profit. I start to realize why people distrust medicine. It's because of the profit incentive. Anything that could make a positive difference or is supposed to help people was really corrupted by the profit motive. The first time that I met the comrades, I was on the quad. When I first passed them, I was like, I kind of want to say something, but I was like nervous, like, what do I say? They were like saying, are you tired of capitalism? I am, so that really caught my attention. And I went back past them, and then I went back and I was talking to them. I talked about a lot of anger that I had, a lot of grievances, a lot of things in the world that are like so depressing, things that I have been thinking about for a really long time. And they were talking about like solutions.
We're not done yet, right? The point is that the fall offensive has kind of opened the floodgates for interest, context, activity. Now we are really reaping what we've sown, and we're still actively recruiting and channeling all of this energy into actually building the party.
Today, the RCA is a small force on the political landscape, but history is on our side. This process won't be a straight line to victory, but our message will resonate more and more in the years ahead. It's a process that the ruling class is unable to stop. Right now, it's up to the cadres of the Revolutionary Communist International, armed with Marxist ideas, to carry that process to its revolutionary conclusion.